Hey, everyone. Welcome to episode, I think it's 12. It's May 2025. And today I want to talk a little bit about the major search portals in real estate, what most people are using. And I also want to kind of address something that I have a pretty strong opinion on. And a lot of agents will disagree with me. But recently I've been seeing a lot of what I call Zillow hate, the major portals. These websites are destroying our business. We're agents. Don't trust Zillow. Don't trust any of these major sites that are selling leads to us as agents. And why I want to talk a little bit about it is because I think it's just a bunch of garbage. At the end of the day, I started in this business in real estate in 1991. And when you were out looking for a house at the time, most real estate agents were what I call the keepers of the data, meaning a house would get listed, a sign would go up front, and you as a consumer couldn't get any data. You couldn't find out how much the house was asking unless you called on the real estate sign. You couldn't see all the listings unless you stopped in a real estate office and looked through the real estate book with an agent who protected it. So you can't get this information from me unless you look at my real estate book. And that all changed probably in the early 2000s with the dot-com boom, and when several of the multiple listing services, the National Association of Realtors, real estate independent brokerages began to do what they call IDX. And they used to be able to take advantage of companies like Zillow and Realtor.com and Truly at the time, who's no longer really a major player since they've been bought by Zillow, would sell. We would sell our data to them. And the way consumers would find houses changed from walking into a real estate office to looking at newspapers, which, by the way, back in the 90s used to cost brokers and agents a fortune to advertise houses, to going on to major national websites that's sole design was to make your search in a way easier. And then they would, instead of charging agents for advertising specific houses, they would then try to generate the revenue by selling agents your data or sending referrals to you. So one of the things I think has changed in our profession is that the agents that thrive, I think, have begun to recognize that fundamentally our value is not, to you as a seller or a buyer, is not data. It's sales. It's my overall market knowledge that's beyond the data. And it's the strength of helping you through the process from a sales perspective, because it's a very complicated process. It's not protecting the data. So I want to talk to you a little bit today about the three major portals and what I like about them, and why I think as consumers, when you're searching for a home, pick one that you like. And I'm also want to educate you quickly on some of the differences, as well as some of the things you can look for on those portals and some of the little tools and tricks that they offer you that are helpful to you as a buyer. I still think the real estate agent is central to the transaction. I think that as the world changes and we get more into AI technology and we get more into the ability for what I call the $15 an hour work to be offloaded by agents, I think the best agents are going to embrace these major portals, are going to embrace the fact that they don't control the data anymore, and they're going to embrace their fundamental skills as expert negotiators, people that can read the room, people that can help you make decisions, and people that can give you advice with their years of experience or just their life experience in general to help you close that transaction. The data isn't where the value of a real estate agent is. The local knowledge and the comfort level in the transaction And the fact that some of us do this hundreds of times a year, where you may do it 3 or 4 times in your life, is our value. So let me talk about the three who I call the big players in the national portal markets. And when I talk about the big players, I'm going to completely ignore Anywhere USA. Anywhere USA is a major real estate franchise network. They own my franchise. They franchise Century 21, Better Homes and Gardens, Sotheby's, Caldwell Banker. Those are all Anywhere USA franchises. There is Keller Williams, who's one major national franchise, Remax. Those guys are big players in niches, but their national websites are not really as robust, or they may be, but they're trying to compete with a company that provides extra services and sole purposes is web data. So the three major portals in my mind, if you are somebody that are selling a house, and you're going to want to make sure that your agent is exposing your property to these three websites. And the reason I would say that is they're the three leading use websites, at least in my region, Buffalo, Erie County, New York. And the three are, right now, Zillow, Realtor.com, and Homes.com. And each of them have some slight differences, but each of them provides a very robust, friendly, consumer-friendly apps that make your home search process easy and will connect you with agents quickly if you need them and you don't have one of your own. So let's talk about them and what they do and how they work. And when you're looking for a home, if you download the Zillow app, I want to tell you how it works so you understand up front how it does. So Zillow, who is one that everybody knows, it became famous for the Zestimate, which is the artificially designed algorithm they use to tell you what your home is worth. And people go in and they claim their home and they look at their Zestimate and they say, my house is worth this. And by the way, in fluctuating markets, it's not anything I would rely on, but it gets better every year. As algorithms get better, their formulas get better, but it's not exactly what the local market would be. So you always want to get a second opinion. Don't take this estimate for what your house is worth. It's more reliable in a subdivision in Las Vegas that's all been built in 2012 and the houses are the same than it would be in, say, a village like East Aurora, New York, where we have a 1952 built Cape Cod, a 1974 built ranch, and a 1880 3,300 square foot colonial, all on the same street in the same location. There's so many fluctuations that it's hard for just an algorithm without being in the house to tell you what it's worth. Zillow. When you are a buyer, Zillow's got some great tools to use. One, it shows you pretty much all the listings in the ML that the agents have chosen to share with Zillow. There are some protesters, just so you know. There's pocket agents now that they don't want to share their listing with Zillow. I think that's a fight, by the way, that's just crazy. This whole concept now that we're not going to share our listings on the web. We did this already as realtors back in the 70s, before there was EML, in the 60s, before the multiple listing system occurred. Agents would get a listing and they'd put their sign up and they'd keep it themselves. And the only way you could buy it is if you went to that agent, and they didn't share. And then a whole bunch of companies showed up that joined this multiple listing system, began to share data and share commissions between companies, and sellers that listed with the multiple listing system companies found, I get more money because I have more exposure to buyers. That's how you got to look at Zillow when you're selling a house. And if an agent comes and says to you, don't share your property with Zillow, I don't like what they do, you have to question, what the hell are you talking about? Are you trying to limit my exposure with the number one portal that consumers use right now in the market to search for a home? What's the advantage to that, unless you want to keep your house a secret? And if you want to keep your house a secret, you're going to get less money. So let's get back to square one. Three major portals, what they do. Zillow takes download feeds from the multiple listing system. It also has an area where people that sell by owner can post their house. And it has an app that's very useful. On the app, one of my favorite features is when I'm showing a house, I use the Zillow app, not for the data in the app because I can get that directly from my ML, but they have a nice mapping feature. So if you're ever looking at a house, you have the Zillow app and you want to see the lot lines, you can get map satellite view and it overlays your tax map lot lines when it's available. And it helps you kind of determine about where the lot lines are. What's the shape of the lot? Is it irregular or not? If you're a buyer on Zillow, one of the most important things you do need to know, and this is why it gets the irritated agents all the time. I mean, why I don't like Zillow. You'll see it on Facebook. Stop Zillow. They're taking over industry. No, they're not. They're taking over our advertising of houses, which makes my job easier because it helps to expose the house to more people. I just need to understand how it works, and I need to educate my buyers how it works. That's simple. So when you are a buyer and you are looking on Zillow and you see a house for sale, it'll have a little button to the right. It says schedule an appointment now. And it will have a little list of times that are available. When you, as a prospective buyer, click on that button and you pick a time, you don't get the listing agent. You get an agent that is a Zillow assigned agent that they have sold, in essence, sold you to that agent as a lead, as a prospect, somebody that the agent is gladly accepting your information from Zillow, gladly setting up that appointment for the opportunity to meet you, to talk to you about their process, and for the opportunity to maybe help you find a house. You just need to understand that going in. So if you have an agent and you're on Zillow and you see a house, don't click that button. Call your agent. If you're thinking about hiring an agent, and I've recommended this in previous podcasts, since now our rules as a prospective buyer, you should interview agents that you find good references on, sit down with them, find out how they work, how they get paid, what their structure is, sign a buyer's agency agreement, and contact them for every showing. So my defense of these major web portals does not mean I think you should just ignore the agents. I think you should hire an agent first, but take advantage of these portals. They're fun to use. They're fun to search for a home. I'm a professional broker, and I still open my iPad every once in a while and check out Zillow. So when you're searching for a home, one of the things to understand is Zillow's revenue is mostly driven by partnerships with agents who are either paying for ads, meaning they're paying for an area. They say they're a Zillow agent for East Aurora. And that means that one out of so many clicks, that agent will get you referred to them. There are other ways that an agent can get referred to you, you can get referred to an agent through Zillow. Some agents will upgrade their listings to make it a premier listing. So if you click on that listing with that agent's information, you do get the listing agent, but Zillow charges the agent for it. The third way is what they call a Zillow referral program, for the simplest terms. They have a term for it, but where you click on the button, the agent may not be paying for the leads in that zip code, but instead they may have a signed referral contract with Zillow where they say, if I accept this appointment and I sell this buyer a house, I'll gladly give a percentage of the commission to Zillow. And so when you see on Facebook and agents sharing this stuff, making negative statements on Zillow, it's because functionally they have to pay Zillow for your use of it. And I started with a little bit of the conversation back in the 70s and the 80s. In the 90s, we used to have to pay the Buffalo News a lot of money to run a single ad so that people knew I had a house for sale. Back right when the internet started, I used to have to pay a lot of money for individual websites so consumers could hunt and peck and go to Jerry Thompson's site or go to Jake Stiller's site or go to Rob Ruffner's site or another agent's site to find their listings. It used to cost me a lot of money to do that. So as Zillow grew and they began to sell leads back to us or opportunities back to us as agents, is how I look at it, A lot of agents reacted like, well, that's ridiculous. How could dare you charge me for this advertisement? Well, they're not spending any money on the Buffalo News anymore. Nobody's buying paper advertising. Got news for you. It's over. Done. I have a list, top 10 things that says your agent's an idiot. If they suggest that you do newspaper advertising, not digital, that they should probably update their business card, get rid of the old hairdo from 1968 that's showing on it, and come back into 2025. And that's how I look at the Zillow. Zillow is a significant player in helping me to advertise your house. I love it. It gives you data. It helps you educate you. It helps show you every house that's available. And then it helps me to do my job, because when you see things as a consumer that's working with me as an agent, I can have a little bit of a more educated conversation with you when we talk about comparable properties or other properties in the neighborhood. We can discuss, why did that property sell for $250? And then it gives the active agents an opportunity to shine and say, well, I'll tell you why that sold for that. I know that house. I've been in that house 8 times. And so I can translate that data with you as a partner. So Zillow is one of the major portals. Zillow is a fun app to use. It's nice to surf for houses. Don't believe this estimate if you're thinking about establishing the sale value of your house. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. It's getting a little better, but I certainly would much prefer you to get a direct opinion from a professional agent to verify if it's right or wrong. Second major portal in the marketplace, and soon to be a much larger player, and I'll tell you why, is homes.com. So homes.com was a dead website up until about 3 years ago. It didn't update its data. It had no back office. Its support was awful. It didn't update proper listings. It didn't present them well until they were bought by a company called CoStar. And residential brokers don't know CoStar very well, but if you've done commercial real estate, you do. CoStar is a company that thrives on providing accurate and excellent data to commercial real estate brokers. If I have a listing that is a commercial listing, CoStar calls me, and they have a whole phone bank of people that are constantly talking to agents to make sure the listing is correct, their data is correct, they know the price per square foot, they know what the lease is for, who the tenants in the property are, they know if it's sold and the price, and they provide all this data to commercial agents for a subscription base. So they'll call me and say, I see you do some commercial in your market. Would you like to pay us $1,500 a month? And we will give you the best data available in the commercial market. They're huge. They own the major portal, CoStar, and they own the major portal for commercial advertisement, which is called LoopNet. They decided we can do the same thing in the residential market. They bought homes.com. And you might have noticed that they are making a significant advertising push. You'll see advertisements all the time. The one Levy from Schitt's Creek is in the ads, and they do, and a couple other major stars. And they are pushing Super Bowl commercials annually now for the last 2 years to enter and become a major player in the residential real estate market. Now, homes.com has a completely different philosophy than Zillow. So if you go to Zillow, you're surfing the page, they have all of the houses that they can get that are fed to them through the multiple listing feed or through agents that will provide them. You click on it, Zillow derives the revenue by selling your buyer information to an agent. And I say that's not really a bad thing. I mean, you talk to an agent, you set up an appointment, you go see a house, and then you get a chance to figure out whether you want to commit to that agent so you can quit clicking on the button and getting arbitrary agents. Their revenue is driven by that. Homes.com has flipped the script. And what they're doing now is they're in the process of having listing agents, large listing agents, subscribe monthly to them for services that they provide us. So now and what that means to you as a buyer is when you go on to homes.com, they have a philosophy. You're listing your lead, they call it, which means that when you're a buyer at homes.com and you see a house listed and you click on that button for set up an appointment, the person you get is the listing agent. When you go to Zillow, you click on the button, you get the buyer's agent. Whatever a buyer's agent, which could be anybody that is subscribing or paying for the lead. When you go to homes.com, you're listing your lead. Now, very soon, mark my words, there's going to be somebody on your social media complaining about how they have to pay homes.com to be the listing agent or the premier agent on it. But they, just like they did in the commercial market, they are focused entirely on services they provide to listing brokers. I'm a subscriber. They provide all of my listings with a 3D tour as part of the subscription. They provide leads that when somebody clicks on it, it comes to me as the listing agent. It doesn't go to some arbitrary buyer's agent. There's some value to it, and they're building that out. And just like they did in the commercial industry, there'll be a menu of stuff I'll be able to choose from as a listing agent, including how to provide comparable listing reports. They are functionally building a system that's going to be driven towards the listing agent, where Zillow has a system that's driven towards a little, dare I say it, towards the buyer's agent, because the buyer's agent provides the revenue to Zillow. Homes.com is going to be getting their revenue from the listing agent. And then the third portal that I want to talk about is realtor.com. And realtor.com, I love because, first of all, it's a name. It was, I think, originally NAR's website. They long sold it. Why? I don't know. They did. Someone thought in 2000, whenever it was a good idea to sell all our data. And after they sold it, horses out of the barn, you're not getting it back. But realtor.com, I like, because realtor.com has great review products. So if you're looking for an agent and you're looking for agent reviews, realtor.com links with most of the major review sites. And what that means to you is that often major companies like Anywhere USA, who I work at, they have a product after a closing occurs, they send a review out to the customer that's bought or sold a house with me. That customer rates me, and it goes directly to realtor.com as a reporting tool. It doesn't go to Zillow. Zillow is a end-to-end. They're like an Apple product. Zillow wants to control everything. They have the website. They have their own reviews. They have their own showing services. They have their own contract e-signing service called .loop. They have Showing Time they own, which sets up showings. They're kind of looking at Apple product. You got an Apple phone, you got a Mac. My products don't work with the other guys. That's Zillow. Realtor.com, their products work with a lot of the other guys. So I always used to say, until the advent of homes.com, Realtor.com is the most reliable direct link to the ML. Most realtors do collect it. They don't fight it. They don't prevent listings from going there. So if you want to get the closest to a direct ML link, Realtor.com, in my opinion, has always been my favorite direct ML link. Everything shows up there. Zillow, most things show up there, but some people hunt and pack and choose because of whatever, they're chasing windmills. They're going to fight Zillow forever and go right ahead. I think there's a book about that. Is it Don Quixote? Whatever it is. So stop chasing windmills. Stop, in my opinion, realtors should stop fighting the data wars and start showing their worth for what they are worth, which is all things that I've talked about in every other podcast. It's, people do this transaction 3 to 5 times a year, or 3 to 5 times in their life, not a year. And I may handle 120 to 150 offers in a year and sell 90 houses and have staff that deals with 450 to 500 houses. Our value, from solving problems to helping you be comfortable with the decision you're making, to educating you on things that only market knowledge can have, to helping you through the sales process, just to having pure fundamental sales. It's never going away. ChatGPT, AI, none of that's stopping it. So agents need to just, forget fighting the portal wars. The portal wars are advertising now. Those portals have solved all of the fundamental advertising and marketing issues we used to have in trying to find where is a place that all buyers look for houses. Well, Zillow, homes.com, realtor.com. So when you see the hate, I want you to understand it's because Zillow's charging agents to get the buyer leads. Homes.com is charging the listing agents to get extra services. And realtor.com does very similar. They offer a menu of services, including a referral program, charge to agents to be a zip code specialist where you get leads. And they also provide seller leads to agents who pay for them as well. And agents that are in this business pick and choose the areas that they want. As a agent that actively works, I want to be in all three portals. I want my sellers to be in all three locations. And I want you as a buyer, when you're in the market, to understand the differences. Each person will have their own personal preferences to apps. My personal favorite app right now is Zillow for using on my iPhone or whatever that might be. My favorite site as far as services they provide to me as agents in referrals and third-party recommendations is realtor.com because they aggregate from a variety of sources. So it's easy for us to get recommendations and proper recommendations as agents on that site, where Zillow is a lot tougher. And so it's harder for me if I've got somebody that's getting a survey from my company, getting a recommendation, and it shares to my company site, and it shares to realtor.com, and it shares to Facebook automatically. I don't ask my customer to go and create a second complete recommendation only at Zillow because I don't specialize in Zillow. I specialize in marketing to everywhere for my sellers. So I think at the end of the day, it's important that just you as a buyer understand, if you're a buyer, when you click, how you get there and why you get there. When you use the Zillow app, you click that button, you get a referral agent or an agent that's paid for the advertising, unless the listing agent has upgraded their listing to be the exclusive, which is a new program that they have, and you'll start to see that a little bit more. Homes.com caters very much to the listing side of the transaction. So when a buyer clicks on homes.com and your listing agent has a listing agent package with them, it goes directly to the listing agent. Realtor.com offers a little bit of both upgraded listings, and buyer leads, as well as they also have a backup department called OpCity that if you click on a listing that isn't, you don't get a response, they will actually call you with a follow-up and then see if they can connect you with an agent. And then they charge the agent for that. So I wanted to talk a little bit about all that today because I've been seeing a lot of social media from agents, and it bashes these data sources. And that's not, to me, data wars are over. It's skills that will win the day from now on. As technology advances and information in marketing houses becomes more readily available, as somebody that makes a career in this, it's important that we embrace it and we recognize what it is. It's a better way to advertise our clients' houses. It's a quicker way to get thousands of people to see our clients' houses. And it's a cheaper way for us to do it than we used to have to do it. They're not the enemy. They're not putting us out of business. Everybody needs to lighten up about that. They are actually probably the best friend professional real estate agents have. Now, as a seller and as a buyer, sellers, you need to get your houses on all three of those portals. You need to ask your agent, what are you doing on Zillow? What are you doing on realtor.com? What are you doing on homes.com? There are 800 and some odd other websites, but those are the three leading traffic websites. There's no seconds, third. At least in my market, those are the leaders. You need to ask, are you doing a homes.com 3D tour? Are you doing a Zillow walkthrough? Are you making it a premier listing on Zillow? and what are you doing with realtor.com? As a buyer, you need to figure out if you're going to work with a buyer's agent. If you're not, if you click on Zillow, you're going to get somebody that paid for the ad. If you click on homes.com, you're going to get a seller's agent who represents the seller, and that's the one that's going to show up at the property. You click on realtor.com, you're also going to get a buyer's agent for the most part. So simple process, simple information, but information everybody should know. 3 major portals: Zillow, homes.com, realtor.com. They're fun to use. Use them. Embrace them when you're looking for a house. Embrace them when you're selling a house. But when you meet with your agent that you're going to hire, because that data portal is just data. It's just advertisements. It's just newspaper marketing. It is just better and faster than it used to be. Thanks for listening. Next month, we'll see what else we can come up with, and I'll see you then. Thank you so much for tuning in to You Own It. Don't forget to take a look at the show notes for any resources mentioned during the show. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe on YouTube, follow us on your favorite podcast apps, and turn on your notifications so you have access to the latest and greatest. All of our social channels are clickable in the show notes as well. I'd also like to remind you to check out our website, c21jerry.com. There you'll find more info on me as well as my latest listings for all of Western New York. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, through any big decision, you own it.